guys, don't you just love this month's card club? I've been wanting to do a card club with the Daisy Delight stamp set. The Daisy Punch has been on back order, but it's finally back in and you're able to order it. So I thought it would be great this month to do some cards with this set. What the card club is, if you guys are not familiar with it, it is a kit I offer you every month. It'll come in a nice little package. You'll get all the materials to make 3 cards. You'll get the envelopes also. You will not get the inks or the stamps, any stamped images, or any of the adhesives. But I will show you how to make these cards that come in your kit. And all you have to do to qualify is you have to reside within the U.S. because I cannot mail outside the U.S. You need to provide me with your contact information so I have some place to mail it to. You need to use the current host code, which is right below on the bottom of the screen. And you also need to spend $32 at my shop online, pre-tax, pre-shipping. And if you do all these items and you continue to be in my card club for 6 consecutive months, you'll get a free stamp set from me, your choice, of $25 or less. So it's very simple to be part of the card club each month. So what you'll get in the mail is a little kit like this. It'll all be packaged up for you, and it will include all the materials you need to make the 3 cards. And you also will get a PDF file on all the measurements and the video link to the card club. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just get started with our first card. So we'll pull out all of our materials and your envelopes. We'll set your envelopes aside. So your first card is going to be the Daffodil Delight. So we'll just take our other cards and we'll just set them aside and we'll work on our first card. So what we're going to do is you're going to have a bunch of stuff with this card. You're going to have your daisies already punched out and we're going to stamp those. But we're going to set those aside, and your clear faceted gem, we're going to set that aside. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use the stitched shape framelit circle. This is cut with watercolor paper. So we're going to take this and you're going to use your aqua painter, and we're going to use 3 different inks with this. We're going to use Lemon Lime Twist, Pool Party, and Calypso Coral. So what you're going to do is just squeeze your ink pads and just get your ink on the bottom, just like so. And then you're going to take your little circle here, your stitch shape framelit. Now this is the cut out of the watercolor paper, and what I like to do is, you don't have to, but I like to do this. It seems to make the color absorb better. I just take my aqua painter and just go over it with just water, just the water, just over the whole thing, just to kind of get it kind of wet and ready for your colors. So then what I did with this is I just took the colors and I just picked some up on the aqua painter. So I'm doing the Lemon Lime Twist, and I just kind of did an area, just a small little area here, about 1/4 of the way or so. And then when you get it to where you like the colors, then you move on to your next color. So what I'm doing over here is I'm just taking my aqua painter and just getting all the lemon lime off of it. So the next color I did was the Pool Party. And I kind of went over the top a little bit to kind of blend it in. Just a little, not too much. Just so you don't get a line there of the colors. You can see that the Pool Party is kind of going into the green a little, the Lemon Lime Twist. So again, I did this about 1/4 of the way. And it's up to you if you want it real light, if you want it real dark. You add the amount of color that you want to it. And then the last bit here, we're going to use the Calypso Coral ink and add that down here. And again, just kind of run it into the pool party. And if you haven't used the aqua painters, if you want it lighter, you just squeeze some water into your ink and you'll get your ink colors to be a little lighter. So once you get it to where you want it, we're just going to take this and set this aside because it's going to need some time to dry. So if you wanted to, you could take your heating tool and you could dry it that way. But by the time we get done with our card, it should be dry enough and we won't have to use the heating tool. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our inks and we're just going to close them up and set them aside. And then the next thing we're going to do is take our two daisies that we have. Now these were cut out of the window sheets. So I just cut two of them out, and I would recommend, if you have it, the embossing buddy, just kind of take those and rub them over the top of where you're going to stamp. So just kind of give them a rub on the top. Just like so. And then you're going to take your Versamark ink and we're going to stamp the daisy, the big daisy, out of here. So you're just going to take your stamp and we're just going to ink that up with the Versamark. And I'm just using the D block for the stamp. So once you get that all inked, I found it easier once your things are cut, your daisies are cut, to kind of lay it on top of the stamp set instead of trying to line it up underneath. So once you get it to where it's all even, just kind of drop it on there and then just press with your fingers and you'll get the Versamark on there. What you want to do is you want to just take your daisy and put it on either a scrap sheet of paper, and then we're going to use some white emboss powder. So you just take your daisy and you just kind of, once you get most of the powder off, I just like to turn it over and then I'll flick the back a couple of times. And then it'll get most of the powder off that where it shouldn't be. And then what we're going to do is just go ahead and heat these up and get them nice and embossed. So what you want to do is you want to use your heating tool on your second setting. So if you're going to emboss them, what I would do is just hold it by the tip here. I just hold it on the sides because it's sturdy enough to where you can hold it on the side. And then just take your heating gun and heat half of it up and then rotate it and heat the other half up. And it'll emboss nicely. So once you have them embossed, they're going to look like this. And don't worry if you do have emboss powder a little bit here. It kind of adds to the daisy. Plus in the center, it's going to be covered up. But on the petals, it kind of gives it a little bit more texture if you have a couple of little splatters of the powder. I don't know if you can see that on this one and on this one too. So it's kind of fun embossing on the acetate or the window sheets or acetate. It's kind of fun doing that. So what you're going to do is we're going to take these two daisies and you're going to line them up so that they look like this. You can see it's one big daisy now. You don't have to do this emboss part. You can skip this and just use the daisies clear if you wanted to, but this adds so much more to the card if you emboss. So what you would want to do to glue these down is, I found the best thing that worked was the glue dots, and because the clear gem is going to be on top, you're not even going to see the glue dot. So just take a glue dot and just put that right on one of the bases or one of the middles of the flowers, and make sure you put it on the side that's not embossed. And then you're just going to line it up here, like I said. And just make sure, again, it's the embossed side. And just kind of scatter it so that it forms a nice daisy. So your daisy should look like that. And then again, you're going to see the glue dot, but once we put the gem on there, you won't see that. So we're just going to set the daisy part aside, and then we're going to work on the card base here. So you're going to pull your card base together, and you're just going to, you'll get your A2 size card base, and it'll have the score line. So you just want to score that, or just fold it on the score line. Then I always take my bone folder and kind of give it that nice crease. And you're going to just take the yellow and white cardstock that come with your kit. The white cardstock, this is measured at 4 3/4 by 4. And the Daffodil Delight, this one is measured 4 1/2 by 3 3/4. So we're just going to take the snail adhesive, and we're just going to put that on your white cardstock here. I always just like to do 4 strips and then maybe a little piece in the middle. And then we're just going to adhere that to the front of your card base. Just like so. And then you're going to take your yellow piece, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to just put some snail adhesive on it. And we're going to center that right around the white cardstock. So your card front should look like this. Then we're going to take your black, basic black marker, and you're going to take the fine tip end of it, not the brush end, and you're just going to make little stitches around the whole outside of the card. Just little tiny stitches, just like so, all along the white part of the card. So your card's going to look like this when you're done with the stitching. In your pack, you also will get a piece of Delightful Daisy Designer Series paper. This here is cut at 1 by 4 1/2, and this we're just going to kind of put it right in the center of your card. So just use your snail adhesive, and then just find the center here and just kind of anchor that down. So it's going to look like this, just like so. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in our watercolored stitched shape circle here. And we're going to bring in our daisies that we did, our embossed daisies. So make sure you have the embossed side up. And then you're going to take your faceted gem here. And we're going to go ahead and put this right in the center of your daisy. So with these, the adhesive for these is right on the back, so you don't have to worry about getting adhesive out. You can use your hands, or you can use a pair of tweezers if you want. So we're just going to put that right in the middle of the daisy. See how pretty? So it just gives it that extra bling. Then for this, because it's watercolor paper, you're going to want to make sure it sticks down nicely. So I recommend using Fast Fuse on it, or if you have the Tombow Mono Glue, you could use that too. So I'm just going to take some Fast Fuse and make sure I get the edges of it. And I'll put one in the center. Now with this, I kind of took the circle and I kind of angled it so that the colors aren't, they're not straight across, but they're not up and down. They're kind of at an angle. I put it in the center, but off to the left side a bit. Just like so, because you want to have enough space down here to stamp out your sentiment. So it'll look like that. And then I used Stampin' Up! Dimensional on the back of the daisy, just to give it a little pop. Kind of just put it in the center of the circle. And then with the window sheets, you can see through it and you can see all the colors. So it looks really pretty, and it kind of pops right out off the page. So the last thing to this card is just your sentiment. And I just used the Calypso coral color to coordinate. And I use the sentiment on it here, your thoughtfulness brightened my day. So, and I just stamp that right along the front here. Just on the bottom down here. Just like so. So there's your first card. So the next card is the Pear Pizzazz card base. Again, you're starting off with your A2. So we're going to just set that aside. We're going to fold your card in half. Just take your bone folder and just give it a nice score. You're going to have 2 strips of Delightful Daisy Designer Series paper. One strip is cut at 2 by 5.5, and the other strip is cut 3/4 by 5.5. So this card is going to be, you're going to take this card and it's going to be vertical instead of horizontal. So we're going to take your wider piece, the 2-inch piece here, and we're going to put some snail adhesive on it. I'm just going to put 2 strips down the side, and then I'll do down at the ends. And then you're just going to line this up on the front of the card, just right at the end, right on the front. Just like so. Then you're going to take your other strip here, and we're going to put snail adhesive down this. And we're going to line this up right on the edge again. So you're going to have 4 daisies cut with the daisy punch, and these were cut out of Peekaboo Peach cardstock. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your Calypso Coral ink pad, and we're going to stamp our daisy onto these. So you're just going to line up your stamp over the daisy and just stamp it down. Then you're going to take a glue dot, and we're going to just put the glue dots on these daisies and assemble them like we did the last time. So if you don't have a glue dot, you could also use your Tombow mono glue, your snail adhesive, or your fast fuse. So once you have your daisies together, we're going to take chocolate chip ink, and we're going to stamp out in your Daisy Delight stamp set. There's 2 pieces in there for the center of the flower. So we're going to take the first piece here. This is called 2-step stamping. So you're going to take the solid piece, and we're going to stamp that down in the center of your daisies with the chocolate chip. And what I did was I thought the chocolate chip and the black was a little too dark together like that. So I stamped the chocolate chip on my ink, and then I just took and stamped it off once, and then stamped it in the center of your flower. So it gives it kind of a faded look. I just thought it was a little too dark. You can do it whichever way you'd like. Then you're going to take the second part to that stamp, the one with the lines and the dimension in it, and we're going to stamp the top of that again with basic black. So what I did was I just took my basic black, inked it once off to the side, and then inked it right over the top. I like the faded look it gives it. So then we're just going to bring in our card, and we're going to take the thank you out of the stamp set, and we're going to use basic black, and I'm using a D block. I just angled my stamp on there. And then what I did was I just took the thank you and I stamped it right in the left hand corner of your card. So it goes on the designer series paper and it goes on your cardstock. So your thank you should look like that. So then we're going to take our 2 daisies, and you're going to use pop-up dot just on the back of them, and we're just going to pop those up on the front of the card. I put one kind of up there. And then one like right about there. So that's our second card. So as you can see, my thank you is a little faded right there. It doesn't bother me, it's all right. But if you want it to get a nice clean image, what you would want to do, because these are photopolymer stamped, you want to use something soft underneath to kind of give it a little cushion. So with the Stampin' Up! Carrying case, you get a foam mat with it. So you can use that to stamp. With the photopolymers, you just need a little bit something underneath to kind of give it that cushion to get you a nice imprint. So that's our second card. So now we're going to move on to the last card, which I think is my favorite one. There's not much to it. Lots of stamping. I love the stamping part. So this card is called an A-frame card. What you do to make an A-frame card is, instead of cutting it on the 11-inch side in half, you cut it on the 8.5-inch side. So you turn your cardstock to 8.5 and you cut it 4 1/4. And then you'll get 2 strips, and then you just fold them in half, and that'll make your A-frame card. So your card will be already scored, so you just want to take your bone folder, just give it a good crease. You're going to have a piece of Melon Mambo, and you're going to have a piece of white cardstock. The Melon Mambo measures 4 by 5 1/4. We're going to take our snail adhesive, and we're just going to glue that right to the front of this card right now. And then you just want to center it right over your Whisper White. And then we're just going to set this aside for now. So now we're going to take the piece of Whisper White cardstock. This is cut at 3 1/4 by 5. And we're going to do all our stamping on it. So the first thing we're going to stamp is we're going to stamp out the stems. I'm using Garden Green to stamp these out. And I just stamped out 4 of these stems. So I kind of just angled my first one. You can stamp them any way you want. And then you can also take and make them, lower them down a little bit so that you have different heights of your flowers. So it should look something like that. So the next thing we're going to go ahead and stamp are the little squiggly lines that go on top of these guys. And we're using, well, I'm using soft suede to stamp those out. So you kind of just line these up. They don't have to be perfect, but you kind of line them up with the stems. Just like so. Like I said, they don't have to be perfect. It gives it a little bit more character if things aren't as perfect. So it should look a little something like that. So the next step we're going to do is the 2-step flower stamp. So you're going to take the solid image of the flower right here, and we're going to use the lighter color on that one. So we're going to use the color Pink Pirouette to stamp that out, and you're just going to do it on the 4 stems up at the top. Just like so. And you can angle them. You can have them going whichever way you want. So it should look a little something like that. Okay guys, so the next step is you're going to take the second half of that flower and we're going to ink it up with Melon Mambo. So you're just going to take this and you're just going to ink it up on your flowers. Just on the top of the Pink Pirouette. Just like so. And then the final stamping we're going to do is right up at the top. So we're going to take the thank you and we're going to stamp that with Berry Burst. we're going to put it right up here in the corner. Then you're going to take the For Your Kindness, and we're just going to stamp that right underneath the U here. Just like so. And then the last thing you're going to do is just put this on the front of your card base. So you just go ahead and flip this over. As you can see, I messed up earlier. I have that little spot there and I didn't like that. Plus there's a little spot there. So I just turned the card over and just redid everything. And then you just want to put your snail adhesive down on your card. And then you just apply it to the front of your card like so. So that melon mambo gives it a nice frame. Isn't that one just so pretty? I think this one's my favorite. It's the simplest. I love just stamping. It just adds so much. But so those are the cards for the card club this month. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching.